All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Jermall Charlo responding to what Canelo Alvarez had to say about him needing to fight other people before he gets a shot. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the 168-pound division and Jermall Charlo's response to Canelo Alvarez in a very even keeled manner, man. Basically says, look, the dude can't, it's going to happen eventually. The dude cannot get away from me forever. But before we get into that particular thing, let me say welcome back to the channel, to the subscribers. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe. Hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also make sure you hit all notifications when you hit that bell so that you can get notified of everything. All right, so we're back talking about Canelo Alvarez and Jermall Charlo. Yesterday, Canelo Alvarez answered a bunch of questions about what was going on in boxing, specifically, whether or not he was going to fight guys like David Benavidez, whether he's going to fight Demetrius Andrade or Jermall Charlo. What he basically said was that he's willing to fight anybody, but those guys should fight each other first. He has, he's busy. He has other things to do. So that was his take on it. And now Jermall Charlo was interviewed by ES News and said, look, man, I can't wait to prove the doubters wrong. And that fight is going to happen eventually. He's pretty much of the mindset that Canelo is eventually going to have to fight him. He said that he would be willing to go down there to fight him in Mexico. It doesn't matter. And he can't wait till he gets to prove the doubters wrong and beat Canelo Alvarez. So, my take on what Jermall Charlo is saying is, that's a very mature way to talk about it. And honestly, it's a way that maybe it makes sense for Jermall Charlo to think about it, because there's been a consistent, steady amount of pressure on Canelo Alvarez to fight Jermall, where it didn't look like he was interested at all at 154, wasn't interested at all at 160. But now that he's at 168, there is a big money backer in the PBC and Showtime willing to put money on the fight. He got a $100 million offer on the table for multiple fights for Canelo Alvarez. So that the money is there, and that Jermall Charlo was definitely in the running to get the fight that he wants to get, and to be fair, a fight that everybody in those weight classes want to get. So, and the fact that he said he'd be willing to go down there to Mexico to make the fight and all that, that's fine and dandy. I don't know if that's going to be necessary, or even if that is realistic for Canelo to have a fight in Mexico City. I'm not sure. My understanding is this next fight, however, with Demetrius Bivol, has a chance to be over there in Dubai. Really can't speak on where that fight's going to happen or that. But, anyway, man, Jermall Charlo, I take my hat off to him for being calm about it, not being upset about it, and just continuing to go about doing his work. Trying to get that fight. Now, with that said, and ignoring the entire Canelo Alvarez aspect of it, I certainly hope that Jermall Charlo does get that David Benavidez fight, does take the David Benavidez fight, or does take the Demetrius Andrade fight, so that we can see him in a really good fight. And although I do believe without a doubt that he's being held to not just him, Demetrius Andrade and David Benavidez and Jermall Charlo are all being held to a different standard than Yildirim was, than Billy Joe Saunders was, than Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, Sergey Kovalev, right, or Demetrius Bivol being held to. I mean, it is what it is. The thing, Canelo Alvarez is a free man. He has the right to choose who it is he wants to, who he wants to fight, just like everybody else does. It doesn't make it any different because Canelo Alvarez is a big money guy. He literally can choose to fight whoever he wants to choose from his perspective. From a boxing fan and somebody that looks at the history of boxing, I do believe that he is interpreting legacy in a different fashion than other people have done it. Other people are saying, look, I'm the best guy, whoever the best guy is, that's who I'm going to fight in the weight class that he's a champion in. Canelo Alvarez is not at 175. He's at 168 pounds. David Benavidez is the best guy at 168 pounds. And at least that's what I see in him. And I think since he was a former WBC champion, that would be the guy, if he was trying to fight the best guy in his weight class, who he would fight. He was at 160 pounds with Jermall Charlo. He beat Gennady Golovkin. The other two best guys in that division were Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo. But, that's not what he saw. He saw, hey, I'm going to go to 168 pounds and fight a bunch of guys who I don't think anybody, including himself, were the best guys in those divisions. But again, time moves on, and sometimes, the longer and longer things go, you wind up getting a fight, right? So take, for example, people that wanted to see Sugar Ray Leonard fight Marvelous Marvin Hagler. There was a lot of talk about that before Sugar Ray Leonard retired retired for the first time with his retina injury. He sat up there and teased everybody in a press conference about fighting Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And then he said, well, but it's unfortunate that it'll never happen because I'm retiring. Well, he retires for a couple years, comes back out, moves to 160, and guess who never went anywhere? Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So when he came back into the 160-pound division, he came back into the 160-pound division with Marvelous Hagler still being the king of that. So if he goes to 175 and David Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, and Demetrius Andrade, either they get beat separately, right? Because Demetrius Andrade, who knows, man? He could lose to Zach Parker, or David Benavidez could lose to somebody, or Jermall. However it gets down, whoever the last man standing is at 168 pounds may very well wind up with the Canelo Alvarez fight, because unless he stops fighting, he's going to have to continue to fight champions. I personally think that a guy like Bivol is not as stiff a competition as David Benavidez is, or Demetrius Andrade, or Jermall Charlo is. And I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of professional fighters, Hall of Fame fighters, that believe the same thing. Marcus Maidana now he's not a Hall of Fame fighter, but Marcus Maidana believes the same thing about David Benavidez as the guy that Canelo should fight. Oscar De La Hoya says David Benavidez or Jermall Charlo, the guy that Canelo Alvarez should fight. So, for the people that come in and leave comments, first of all, you guys, for the most part, don't listen to the video this long. However, if you were to listen to the video this long, please understand that I'm not alone in wanting to see Canelo Alvarez fight these guys, and not being impressed just because he moves up in weight class to beat a guy that I personally think is an easier win for him than guys in his own weight class. But, it is what it is. My hat goes off to Jermall Charlo for just saying, hey, man, it is what it is. He didn't take me. He didn't take the fight. The fight is going to, it'll be there down the road. Steven Espinoza said the same thing. It's like, look, we believe we offered him the best package, but, we can still be able to do business down the road. It won't be in 2022. Maybe it'll be in 2023. We'll see. Maybe Canelo Alvarez will look at Arthur Beterbiev and say, I don't know, maybe I'd rather do Charlo than Beterbiev, because I do believe if you jump up in there and you start dealing with Beterbiev, provided Beterbiev doesn't age out or something like that, hey, man, that's a tough fight too. But anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.